have rodents in your house? Ever seen one of these guys? Now, some people don't like them because they're very mean to the poor little animal. But if you have rodents all through your house, all of a sudden you stop caring about the poor little animal and you start saying it's time to get the rodent out. Yes, this is not an advertisement for Victor. I promise you, but this is something very real. It's a very complicated system here, and sometimes we don't think it's that complicated, you know. But take a look. What are the items that have to be in it? There's first that's the plate here. See that wooden plate that's here? See that? And then there's a spring, and it has to be a good spring. You have to pull it, right? And you have to have this little guy here. I don't know what it's called. Someone might know, but you have to have one of these things. And then there's this little thing you put the cheese or the peanut butter on, right? And let me go ahead and just close this softly. Actually, Robert showed me this morning. He said, "Oh, Pastor, my finger got it from the thing." He said, "Oh, you have one of these. I don't want to look at them right now." But here, take a look and see how a optimally operating trap works. I need to be very careful here because I'd like to keep, see this pen? Who here wants to be a volunteer? All right, come on up, Gino. All right, so give him a hand. All right, give Gino a hand here. And Gino, by the way, deals with this all the time.
Yes.
Let's go on this side. Let's go on this side so everybody can see. Now, all these little pieces that work together enable something to happen. Let's show them what happens. Keep yourself back and... it didn't...
No, these are weak. These are small. Oh, never mind.
It took it out, man. That thing, look at that. Here, let's get it close. Let's get it close here. Look at this thing. Wait. There we go. Look at that. That absolutely destroyed it. That thing's working good. Thank you, Gino. Let's give him a hand. All right, all right. Yes, I heard, by the way, a Southern California conference. You're a celebrity now. All right. All right. Anybody that gets those emails from the conference had me baptizing Gino here. And he smiled at the camera. Anna says, that was my picture. So there we go. And anyway, I need to negotiate with the conference to see if I can get a little bit of income from them. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. No one makes any money off of that. All right. Well, there's another one that hasn't been snapped yet. Okay. Yeah, I know. Now I need to lean down on it as I'm speaking. A human being is far more complicated than this. Far more complicated than this. And yet, how we came to be was happenstance. Is that true? Have you ever walked into the woods? Walking among the woods, you find an item, something. Sometimes we'll say, you can find cabins. Imagine you found an Apple laptop. Now, since it's raining today, I was going to get an Apple laptop from my office. But I decided I'd like my hair to be not completely matted to my head today. And the first thing that I think when I see an Apple laptop sitting in the middle of the woods is, well, it's an apple. So there must be apple trees around here, and it evolved from the apple tree. You know, it's an apple with a little bite out of it. Imagine if you saw it ancient, But even ancient world, I was looking on YouTube and I saw this morning, I was looking for things on design this morning. And there was a guy that was in Giza Plateau. You know where Giza is? In Egypt, on the edge of Cairo. I mean, if you've gone to Cairo, it's amazing city. It is dense, but how the sand is put, when you're on Giza, you can't see the city from there because they piled it up in the corners so that you can stand on that plateau and not really see any city except for little tops of a few buildings in the distance. And this guy with his camera, he's a German guy, and he was looking, he says, this was built like this. And it seems to me like these big stones was put here like this, and then they cut it after it was put there instead of being put, because it's kind of like Peru. You know how in Peru there's a stone here and there's a stone here, but then there's one that's like a quarter size in here, like an interlocking set of stones, almost like they wanted them to stay locked together, right? Well, Egypt did that too. Actually, later on, they came up with an idea which is called the butterfly stone. Ever heard of the butterfly stone? I don't have anything. I was totally ill-prepared. But if I do the wrong thing, my finger will snap. I got to watch it. I don't want the Thanos slap to get me. All right. So, the butterfly is a little like a V shape on one side and a V shape on the other where two stones are. And then either a metal or a stone piece was put in there, or wood was put in to lock the stones together. But in the megalith world, which is Peru, or the older Egypt, what they would do is take these big stones and have them interlocked in a organized way where they didn't have to put any butterflies, which later on they put in butterflies. It almost seems like they were smarter the older they were as opposed to today. I remember I was in second grade. I had Dale Lee was my teacher in New Jersey at a school. What was it called? Not a Cohansey school. Cohansey. All right. Don't know who the guy who Cohansey was, but we went to his school. And this guy, Dale Lee, was teaching, right? This guy was teaching. And he said to me, he said, the ancients from Peru or from Egypt would come and look at our architecture, and they would just laugh. That was the 80s. Imagine now. Southern California, do you know how many things are just put together with drywall? You know it, because if you get a leak, what happens? The whole thing comes in. It's not like the old days where it was, at least they had chicken wire or wood with intermixed plaster that does not rot. Drywall rots. It gets black mold and it starts getting you sick and you don't know it. That is 2025, as opposed to the 1980s, which were more block, right? In the old school was block and paint and mortar. But he was saying they'll just laugh like this with their hand on their stomachs, just laugh. I promise you I'm getting somewhere with this. Design is a big deal. If I saw a laptop in the middle of the woods, my assumption would say somebody, I usually would say the hand of man or woman. Biblically or philosophically, that's the same. Human beings made this. Somebody dropped it. If it was found in 1,000 years, they wouldn't know what the apple was, but they'd know it was something made by fingers or a machine. The idea that the mousetrap somehow just happened on its own because of a big sound. And by the way, you know what I'm talking about, right? The big what? Bang. Mr. Martin, one of my favorite guys, he worked for NASA, helped build Skylab, he was in the CIA, and he came to know that there is a God. In fact, one of the things that brought him, he says it's impossible for everything to be finely tuned. Those are the words that he would use, the finely tuned universe. Impossible. And if you're there, Mr. Martin, hi. He's a great guy, and the finely tuned universe is impossible. The Goldilocks effect. Ever heard of that? Here's the earth. The sun is over here. Goldilocks. When she came to the three bears, one's too big. That's too big. The other bed is too small. But then there's one that's just what? Right. A little bit out this way, and the earth freezes. And we're on Europa, frozen. And nothing lives. We're like Hoth, right? And then a little bit further in, and all of us have really bad sunburn. In fact, so bad that we don't exist. Just a little bit. Goldilocks. Our earth was put in an exact location with a moon that rotates around the earth, giving exact times, seasons, days, and years. And in fact, we can see the cycle. That's what the word month comes from. Moon. People can schedule their lives based on the moon, the sun, where it is in the sky. Right now, the sun goes down earlier, right? Wait just a second. Does the sun go down? The earth is rotating. By the way, when people notice, it's funny because on Facebook there was a guy that showed a thing that was like, oh, see, they mentioned that the sun goes down and all these different things. See, that proves that the Bible's not scientific. And I go, wait, did you experience sunset last night? Yes. Oh, well, you must not be scientific. Human beings, we use language to speak, and sometimes it isn't perfect, right? Doesn't mean that the biblical writers were dumb in some way. Let's get a little bit deeper on it for a second. This mousetrap. Yes, I am still holding the mousetrap. And my wife is very nervous that I may not have a finger anymore after this, which, of course, looking at me, is definitely possible. There's one thing inside the human body that's kind of like the mousetrap. Ever heard of the gullet? The gullet. It's a little flapper right here. And the gullet is kind of like a flapper, you know when you play pinball, the flapper where you flap and you hit the thing, right? You can close the you know, so it doesn't get inside and flap it out. It does the same thing with water. Here. When we drink, the gullet closes, and we're not drowned. It doesn't go down into our lungs. Have you ever had a thing where you're drinking and all of a sudden you start coughing? That's because maybe your gullet has, or your vocal cord or something has a little bump on it, and because maybe you're dealing with an allergy or something, somehow it moves wrong and a little water gets in and you start to cough. Cough, cough. I can't stand that because I get that all the time. And Anna wants to make sure she's not right in front of me at our meal, if that happens, okay? Anna says, I'm going to move over to this side. But the thing is that's a reality. Imagine if we evolved over millions of years, but we didn't have a gullet. Epiglottis. Yeah, thank you. The epiglottis. Imagine if we did not have that. We wouldn't be here. We would die immediately. In fact, the whole idea of evolution, and I'm talking about macroevolution, not micro. The proof that micro is true is that Anna and I are married and we have children. And one of the boys looks more Asian, and the other boy is taller. And he looks Asian too. But I mean, it's different. Microevolution is that you have modification changes. You know, Darwin's the pigeons or whatever they are. The Darwin's brain damage. But it's the birds, how they slowly modify it. And what he did is says there must have been modifications that were big enough to change from like the bird to the dinosaur or something. That's what many scientists believe. But think about it. Scientists are not dumb. They're smart. But here's the thing. If you don't believe in God, what options do you have? But we, on the other hand, believe in God. There it goes. All right. All right. It didn't get me. So let's open our Bibles now. And I promise you it's not going to be that long. But I want you to take a look here at one of the amazing verses here. In Psalms 139, David says something amazing. And by the way, I'm not getting into all the scientific stuff, but yet there's a science to it, you know? It's the big picture that we're looking at. Verse 139, verse 1, you've searched me, O Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going in and my laying down. You are familiar with all my... That's scary, isn't it? Martin Luther said, this verse, Martin Luther was feeling like he was lost because he wasn't perfect. Kind of like all of us, huh? And then he reads this verse, and it is absolutely terrifying to know that God can see everything. Terrifying. You know me from the inside out. And yet you still love me, right? Okay, let's read I'm going to go down to verse 11. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light becomes night around me, even darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like day, for darkness is like light to you. God is beyond light and darkness. He's raw energy. Light emanates from him. Time, he made time for you and I, so we don't trip along through life. How could you live if there is no time? God created it for us, but he's outside it. Then he says something amazing here. Verse 13, for you created my inmost being, meaning you made my internals. You can say your spirit, your soul, which is your body, plus your spirit, which equals your soul. We're a living soul or we're a dead soul, right? And also you could say my heart, my liver, my kidneys. By the way, the ancients, the Egyptians, they would hold them in little jars because those inward pieces were spiritual to them. And they are to us too. Without your kidneys operating, you're going to have a very hard time worshiping God. Okay? It's spiritual as well as physical. And then he says, you what? Knit. Did you see the word knit? What does the King James say? Anyone have a King James? It's also what? Covered me. That's interesting. The actual Hebrew is literally like a crocheter, like this, knitting together. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Have you seen any YouTube videos on how proteins are built? How there's even, I don't know the name of it, but it has little feet, these little feet. It walks, and he carries backpacks of proteins, and he throws it down, and then the next guy gets it. These little, and they are microscopic. And they move, and they're moving, taking those amino acids, and that's why we need to have sugars in us, because those sugars give them energy to walk and repair our own little pieces that create our skin, our hair, our eyes, every piece of us, which is made out of proteins, our bones, all of it. And they all have to read a genetic code. They literally, they'll go to a place, read the code, and write the new stuff in the same way that the code is written. Incredible! And yet this all just happened. You know, have anybody driven in LA lately? What happens when things just happen? Potholes come, right? Does anyone repair them? We're in LA. I don't know if anyone repairs them. We got a lot of guys in the orange suits, but I'm not sure, right? We try to get them repaired. It takes thought process to do that. Consistency. It takes thought. I want you to go to two other small texts. Chapter of Psalms 33. Psalms 33, verse 6. Psalms 33, verse 6. By the word of the what? That name Lord, by the way, is all uppercase. Do you notice that? That means it's the personal name of God. The name which we say as Yahweh. That's the name that actually translates out to the Greek or the Hebrew when it comes to Yeshua. It's very close. One day when I have a class, I'll show you. It's kind of cool. The name Jesus. It's the reason why the angel says to Joseph, you shall call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. Because that's what Yahweh did in the Old Testament as they were in Egypt, and pulls them across with his outstretched arm. So the same way, Yeshua, with his outstretched arm, saves his people from their sins. Arms open wide. Behold, I have crafted, or behold, I have carved you in the palms of my hands. Again, Isaiah. Old Testament has all these little hints that the New Testament makes sense out of. By the word of the Lord were the heavens made, their starry host, by the breath of his mouth. Actually, the word breath in Hebrew is ruach. His bach is speaking out his spirit. By his spirit, he makes all these things, the starry host. And one more verse. You'll love this one. Those of you who like the Big Bang Theory. By the way, I love that Big Bang. Big Bang. And why is it called bang? Because in outer space, there's no oxygen. How can you have a bang? It's a big explosion, and no one will know what that means. They say, what, are you talking about Rambo or something? What? You know what I mean? But the Big Bang. Okay, Big Bang Theory. The explosion that happened. And the earth, or should I say the universe, is stretching out. And by the way, we know this. It is stretching out. In fact, let's read right here. Interesting thing. This is in Isaiah chapter 40. And I'm going to start with verse 21. Do you not know? Have you not heard? Has not been told to you from the beginning? Have you not understood since the earth was founded? Verse 22. Isaiah is being very poetic right here. Now he's going to give you the zinger. Verse 22. He, meaning the Lord, or Yahweh, the Lord, sits enthroned above the what? I know it says circle, but it's not the word circle in Hebrew. It's actually sphere. Yes, Isaiah knew the earth was not flat. Or should I say God knew? Isn't that interesting? He sits on the sphere of the earth. I know. The translators always want to say circle because they assume that the biblical writers didn't know that. All right, so we continue on. On the circle of the earth, and its people are like grasshoppers. Sure, it's like small things. We're just small, right? He stretches, wait, listen. He what? He stretches out the what? Like a what? The Hebrew word for stretches is done in a different stamp than the normal kal stamp. Stamps are kind of action. This one is the kind that's continual. I think it's hifpael, the stamp. He stretches, or he is in the midst of stretching. What? What's he doing? Stretching. Out what? You mean the expansion of the universe was known by Isaiah in 600 BC. Long before any of the Greeks or any of the Romans, long before long before Copernicus got burned at the stake for daring to say that the earth revolved around the sun. Because in the Holy Roman Empire, they believed the sun revolved around the earth. And then in Anna's kindergarten class, she would sing the song, "The earth goes around the sun, tra-la-la. The earth goes around the sun, tra-la-la. It takes, 365 days to go around." That thing, getting the kids to learn that the earth is moving around the sun. My friends, you were designed. You didn't just happen. Just like this, which I didn't want it to go already. Just like this beautiful little, this is dangerous now. Let's see if I have a finger left after this. We can get it online. Okay, now, without Gino, let's see what happens. All right, my friends, this thing was designed. You were designed. Because you were designed, you have a purpose. You have a reason. I know that's very close. There we go. You have the ancient philosophers would call it the raison d'être. You have a reason to exist. And because you have a reason, even if you haven't discovered it, He has a purpose for your life. He made you to do certain things. But you and I don't really know what those things are. Now, some of us have found out more than others. But when we know what our job is in this world, then we find joy. God has called you to do particular things because He designed you. He created you. And no, you're not a mousetrap. That time it didn't break. But just knowing who we are gives us hope, purpose, and direction. God bless you all.